Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. And today we've got some DCEU, Worlds of DC, DC Comics news, whatever it is you want to call it, because they don't even know what the hell they're calling themselves these days. At least that's what it seems like. And the big question of the day, as this article from our friends over at Bounty of the Comics asks, is Harley Quinn the new face of the DC Extended Universe, or the DCEU, as I like to call it? Let's actually dive in a little bit here into the character and trying to, basically come up with where this is coming from and why people might think this is a good idea. Harley Quinn has become increasingly popular since she debuted as Joker's main squeeze and hench girl on Batman the Animated Series. That's something that I never knew for a very long time, that her character was actually not original to the comics and was added on later on in the series, and it's a great character in the series, and a lot of it has been done with that character ever since then. I think that as far as representations of her character, it's been a really cool one, because there's a sinister side, there's obviously a psychotic side and a psychotic nature to her character, and actually, as far as a character goes, I like the character a lot in Suicide Squad. The problem was, of course, the rest of the film, where the writing just fell apart, and of course, Jared Leto's Joker just really did not work with the way that they were portraying the overall character that Margot Robbie was trying to play there. More and more emphasis is being placed on Harley subsequently, and she seemingly will be a fixture in the years to come. Robbie stars as Quinn again in Birds of Prey and The Suicide Squad, with more adventures in the offing, e.g. Gotham City Sirens. So this is talking about the future of the DC universe, talking, of course, about Birds of Prey, which, in all honesty, if we're going to talk about her being the center character, I would say that it's not looking very good for that to be the case. And the reason why is because I would say that everything we know about Birds of Prey has her at the center, has her being the main star of that show, rather the main star of that movie. But that series and that movie, rather, has already undergone reshoots, is already undergoing new writers being brought on, and seems to be in behind-the-scenes chaos where the entire story apparently is being rewritten, or at least in some parts is being rewritten. And that to me screams more of chaos, and obviously it means that they potentially could fix the problem that they seemingly had, at least according to one of the producers or whoever was running the show, saying, no, we need to fix this. But that to me just kind of points out, saying, if you're having this much trouble trying to get this character right in her own film, or at least in a film where she is more so the center than all the other films that she's ever been in before, I don't really think this is a good sign that her character is going to be good for the movies going forward. Now, again, I think Margot Robbie is a great actress. I think that she's been great ever since Wolf of Wall Street, which was like her breakout performance. She was able to show that she's not just a good-looking actress, right? She is more than that. She obviously has so much talent behind the screen, or rather on the screen, and that she's able to give life to her characters and a personality to her characters that many other actresses these days don't really seem to be able to do. Not just that, but she also has such a range to her character where she can play comedy very well, she can play drama very well, and also, of course, playing this character of Harley Quinn, she can play the psychotic very well too. So she's not the problem. The problem seems to be the world around her. Seems to be the world around her, the writing and the character descriptions and the character building over time, and the different characters that her character interacts with as well. And that to me seems to be what's going to be the ultimate downfall of her character on screen, and why I don't think she should be the new face of the DCEU, because I think that the DC universe doesn't need a new leading actor or a new leading character. They need someone behind the scenes that's actually going to give a damn about continuity and is actually going to give a damn about trying to make connections. Now, whether or not you want to keep the loose connections of the universe that they have now, which I know many people have said, we don't want the DCEU to be like the MCU. The problem, though, is that if you want the franchise to be successful, audience members, especially normies, are going to need to have some type of connections. If you're going to tell me that every movie is going to be its own thing and that it has no relation to the previous films, if you're going to tell me that there's now a movie called Suicide Squad and now The Suicide Squad, and that there is basically no difference between the two, or that it's actually a reboot or a remake, but it's not exactly a reboot or remake because you're bringing back the same actors and the same characters, and there's all this confusion about it, that's not a good thing. See, people like me who like to dive into that kind of stuff, I might overall enjoy it, right? I might be able to look at the film and say, hey, you know what? It wasn't as bad as Suicide Squad was, so hey, at least there's that. But for normies, they're going to look at this film and they're going to listen to everything and they're say, wait a minute, I am so confused right now. It's hard to follow it when there aren't actual, hard connections among the different characters, among the different movies either. And that's something that they definitely need to work on, right? So it says there, it all seems too perfect, as if part of a grander scheme of the part of Warner Brothers. At least that is what comic book casts put forth in a discussion during their most recent podcast, in which they raised the question, who wants to see more Harley Quinn? It's all about her. If Birds of Prey is successful, they deduce we will see more of Quinn Quinn in a way that makes the extended universe centric around her, as one of them puts it. The others point out it's already measurable. One said Birds of Prey is 90% her, 10% everything else. The complete title of Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, after all. She is kicked out by Joker and is forced to move on with life sans her pudding. Harley's ability to stand, and for those who don't know, that's the nickname that she gave to him in the animated series. Harley's ability to stand on her own is put to the test in many ways starting there, which again, I think that's a good motivation for the character, for her to be on her own and not be reliant on any other characters around her. But then when you're going to thrust her into a relationship with other characters, being supported by those other characters that called Birds of Prey for a reason, it kind of just flies in the face of all that. Oh, she's standing on her own, but she's still in a group. So she's not really standing on her own. She's still relying on others. Now, of course, I'm sure that there's something to be said about some people saying, oh, but she doesn't need a man anymore. And I am sure there'll be undercurrents of that, because that's just the modern state of Hollywood. But I'm hoping that it's more than that, right? I'm hoping that instead of it being focused on that nonsense, it's actually focused on good character developments and also a good story structure with great relationships among the various characters, regardless of where they come from, regardless of their gender or their race or any of those things, because that is what we care about more than anything else, right? We care about relationships being played out on screen that make sense, that work, and most importantly, are entertaining to boot, right? But obviously what we're getting from here is that this is not coming from Warner Brothers. This is speculation on the part of a podcast trying to say that it seems to them like this is going to be the case. And that's why, of course, our friends over at Bounding Comics pose this as a question and not as an actual statement of fact. And basically, they're trying to speculate, saying, well, look at all the things that have her at the center. Look at all the things that seem to have her as being an important character. But I think that's the only reason why that she is being the important character here, is because she's the only real character that is staying on from the original versions of these films. Again, the Suicide Squad cast, the only real name attached to the film that was in the previous film is her, is Margot Robbie, is Harley Quinn. And obviously, you're going to see the chance of them recasting certain characters or just not having them mentioned at all in the film. And to me, that's just going to create, again, as I said, more confusion. The fact that you're talking about things like Gotham City Sirens as well. Obviously, it's because the future of Hollywood is very much female-centric. They think that this is what people want to see. That, oh, we're in 2019 and 2020 now, and we need to have more female-centered films. And there's nothing wrong with having a strong female character. There's nothing wrong with having a strong female cast. But motivation behind putting those films out there, to me, is just as important. Because if you don't have a good, compelling story that justifies the existence of the film, well, then the only thing that audiences are going to see is, oh, this is just obvious pandering. This is obvious pandering to the various, SJW masses who would actually care about that nonsense. But all I and the most other general audiences care about are good, quality films with good storytelling, with common sense storytelling, and also, of course, with great character building, character development, and character relationships. And so that's my biggest concern going forward. Is Harley Quinn the new face of the DCEU? I would say there's no real evidence to suggest that that is going to happen. Should she be the face? No. Because if we're going to have anything else, and the main reason why I say no is because the main thing that they need to focus on, that Warner Brothers specifically needs to focus on, is finding a new person to lead the charge. Rumors are that it's going to be J.J. Abrams, that maybe it'll be a tandem of J.J. Abrams and even James Gunn, because they're bringing him in to do the Suicide Squad. And of course, the recent listing of the cast is gigantic and actually has a lot of different people from the MCU and have been in the MCU in the past, which seems to indicate that J.J.'s using his Disney connections to try and bring some people over. But we still don't know exactly the role that J.J.'s going to have for $250 million plus, however much the contract that he has with Warner Brothers is. But to me, it seems most likely that with a name as large as his, whether we like him or not, putting him in charge of the DC universe would be the best bet for them as far as, where his role could fit. But it does not look at this point in time like they're trying to revamp or reboot any of this stuff, because it looks like we're still having the same amount and same level of confusion that has existed within the DC universe, at least in the film side of things, for a very long time. What are y'all's thoughts about this? Do you think Harley Quinn is the new face, or that she should be the new face? Again, I think Margot Robbie is great, and I think that if we had a different showrunner, I think that if we lived in a world where the DC movies were not completely broken, and most of them were not good, and only a couple of them actually stood out as being solid, well-made films, I think that there would be a case to be made that she should be pushed to the front because she is, again, a great actress who plays a great character. And again, I personally really like the character of Harley Quinn from the animated series. I don't know much about the comics, but I love Batman the animated series as a kid. Her character, and of course people like Clayface, were some of my favorite villains in that series because their origin story was so damn interesting. But the problem with the modern day, live action films that we have going on here is the fact that all of their origins are basically shrouded in mystery in some cases, and some of them seem to be retconned or the process of being retconned or have just been dropped at the at the tip of a hat. And we are so freaking confused as to what's actually going on, how they are connected, if they are connected, and if they are not connected, why we as an audience should actually care about going to see these movies. Why should I care about going to see Joker if there's just going to be another Joker coming up in the future that has no relation to it whatsoever? I think that if you're going to do solo films, that's fine. But you need to have something established, clearly established, that makes it clear what's actually going on, how these characters are connected or not connected, because if you don't, you're going to lose the normies, and at some point, you're going to lose the general fans as well. So let me know your thoughts about this and anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, smash the like button, give me a subscribe, it helps me out a lot. You are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.